Okay, let's go tutorial 4, question 3. Reads as follows. Okay, for this question, please observe the data module unit provided and the DBGo components. Inspect the header file of the data module to see what components you are going to work with. So this is our dmod unit and all the DBGo components. Okay, all the data sets, ADO queries, and ADO command components are already set up. Connection is already hooked up. The ADO-DS temp, ADO-DS temp 2, ADO use query 1, and ADO use query 2 are used to execute temporary commands. The ADO command is used to execute only GML statements. Okay, 3.1, which is our tab sheet, TBS question 3. We must write code for the onshore event of this tab sheet to use applicable and appropriate data sets and data sources as indicated by the orange labels. Okay, orange labels there and there. So it means it's the Rangers dataset and the sightings dataset. Display the Ranger ID on the DB text Ranger ID DB text component or control. The sighting ID, the sighting date, and animal name should be displayed on the DB text sighting ID, DB text sighting ID, DB text. Okay, and this one DB edit and the name on the DB edit respectively. The information of sightings should be displayed in the database grid as shown below. We have a lot of work to do in 3.1. But anyway, let us get to it. So this should be 3.1. Tabs question 3 show. Okay, so first thing first, we need to determine the data sets which we will be working with. So the first data set is the Rangers data set, and we are going to start by opening that data set. Why do we start by opening? Because the data set already has a command text given to it as a default command text. So if we go over to the DM unit, we go over to the ADODS Rangers, we will see that it already has a select all from Rangers command text. So our job now is just to fetch the results. We are also going to do the same for sightings. So ADODS sightings, we are also going to open it. Why is that so? Because on this DB edit, we want to display the Ranger ID. And for sightings, we want to get information such as sighting ID, sighting date, and the name of the animal to be displayed in this DB field. We also need to use the sightings to display on the DB grid. Hence, we are going to open the Rangers and the sightings. Okay, so when that is done, now the first objective is to assign a value to this DB text Ranger ID. Now you'll remember that this is a data aware control. This is a data aware control, meaning it's able to focus on data coming from the database. As you can see, it also has the property data source so that it can be aware of data coming from a particular source. It also has another property called data field, which represents the field in whatever data source we will have assigned there that it needs to get a value from. Okay, so to set up this DB text, we need to make use of the two properties. Okay, now with that said, we can come and use or set up the first DB text of ranges, which is DB text ranger ID. Then we say it must get a data source from a particular data source. Now, before you can assign your data source there, always go over this side and verify that this data source is given that appropriate data set. But for the summative, just know that everything is set up. There won't be any tricky setting up there. Everything is straight to the point. So you can come and just verify, but hey, take it from the horse's mouth. You need not worry about a mix up of these components. Hello.
May you please explain the ADO citing open and the ADO DS20 again?
Okay. According to the question, we want to display the ranger ID on this particular label. All right. And the question had said we need to use applicable and appropriate data sets and data sources as indicated by the orange labels. So this is giving us a hint that the data sets and the data sources that we need to use should be of ranges and sightings, hence the orange labels phrase. So now it means we need to get a ranger ID and display it on this DB text ranger ID there. So, and for us to get that ranger ID, the data set of rangers needs to be opened first. Because if we skip this part and we go straight to assigning values, we will get an error there that says we are attempting to get a value from a data set which is closed. So if we are going to take a value from a data set, we need to make sure that that data set is opened. All right. So now our focus is on this DB text ranger ID. What is it called? A data aware control. This control, as I have shown you, it works with two properties. The first property is the data source, which stipulates the source of data that this control should get it from. And this because it is going to display a ranger ID. It means the data source needs to come from dmod ds rangers, because this is the data source that is associated with this data set. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is to set up the data field property. So now here we are saying because this data aware control called the DB text is holding this particular information. Now we wanted to display a value coming from a particular field, hence the data field property. So we are now saying in that source which we have obtained, we want to focus on a field called ranger ID. So now if we go and compile this, we will see that it can focus on the current value of the ranger ID in the rangers dataset. So as you can see, we have 1 there because this is the first record inside our ADODS Rangers dataset. So we need to do the same thing for this DB text, this DB edit, and that DB edit. So I am going to go over to the DB text of citing, and then I am also going to say get the data source from dmod. Hello.
Sorry to disturb, sir. Can you just go back and just re-explain what you just explained, because I'm a little bit lost.
Okay. We have something that looks like a label there, right? And if we take a close look at the pop-up, this tells us that this component is a TDB text, a TDB text. And this DB text is a data-aware control. Data controls there. DB text. It's a data-aware control. If we say something is data-aware, what do we imply or what do we mean? If something is a data-aware control, we mean that it is able to be aware of the changing of data in a particular data source or data set. So this is aware of data in whatever data source. So if we go over and observe the properties of this DB text, we will notice that because it is aware of data, it will need a data source. It will need a data source so that it can be aware of data within that data source. So we are going to assign a data source to this component so that we can say, look, UDB text, this is a set of information which you should hold. Okay? And then there's another property called data field, which state, okay, out of that a set of data that you have, which field or which column do you want a value from? Then we are going to write the name of the column there. And this name of the column that we are writing there should be present inside this data source which we would have assigned. Does that make any sense?
Yes, yes. Can you go back to the question? I want to confirm something, then I will be fine. So why are we taking the specific field?
Because we
range
because
ID.
we
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
because we are in,
I get
we
it.
are in okay. Okay, are you fine?
Because we want the ID. Oh, display the ID. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
All right.
Fine.
So we will inform you in terms of which value from which field should be displayed. Nah, you won't have to choose for yourself. Right. So proceeding, we are now saying this DB text, which is expecting a citing ID, should first have a data source coming from DS sightings. And of course, this data source is associated with this data set. Okay. Now we also need to tell this DB text to focus on a particular field within this data source. So we are going to use the data field property to now say focus or be aware of data coming from this field, which is the citing ID. And we will do the same even for the DB edits. They are all data aware controls and they all need a source and a field. So we now have DB edit animal. We also have to give it a data source. And then we say the data source should come from DS sightings. And we now tell this control to focus on a field or a column called animal. Finally, the DB EDT sighting date should also have a data source, which is our sightings data source. And then the DB EDT sighting date should focus on a column or a field called sighting date. There. Any questions on that one? So as you can see already, this is focusing on the first record of sightings. I mean the first ID in sightings, the first date inside sightings, and the first animal that is on the first record in sighting. Okay, now the last thing that we need to do is to display information of sightings within this database grid. Okay, so to do that, obviously, hello.
When do you use data field?
Why am I?
When do we use data field?
When you are working with data aware controls, the data aware controls are going to be found inside this drop down there, data controls. So we are going to use the data field when we are working with DB text, DB edit. I've never used others, and bridge edit as well. Yeah, I've never used others, but I think all of them should have the data field, except for the navigator. I've never seen. We can just quickly put it there and just check. So the DB navigator does not have data field, it only has data source. And then delete, you could put another one, which is memo. Memo, does it have data field? Yes, it does. So the data field is a property that is associated with data aware controls, ne? Data aware controls. So DB image also has a data field property, because in the database we could have a column that is associated with pictures, ne? And then we could tell this DB image to focus on that column of pictures. List box as well, it should have, combo box should have, checkbox. Let's quickly just check. Yes, it has. So it seems most of these have, except for the database grid and the DB navigator. These two do not have data field, but all these have the data field property.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All
So,
right. Hello?
um, does this specific these DP edits and DP text for this particular question, are they specifically focusing on the first record of every column?
Not specifically the first record, but it initially when they start, they will always point to the first record and then on those particular fields. So if we move to the next record, you will see them also changing values depending on which record are we currently at.
Oh, okay, sir.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
So you'll all right. So you'll see as we do these buttons, you will see what will happen on the value that will be displayed of the ranger ID. If we move to the second record, then it goes and fetches the ranger ID on that record.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So now let's quickly display the results inside the sightings grid, which I think is DB grid sightings. And then this only requires a data source. The data source that it needs to focus on, or it needs to display info from, is the sightings. So now if we compile this, we should see the results in the table. Now pay attention to, I'm not sure if we are going to see, okay. Pay attention to the information displayed by these data aware controls. So 101 is because this pointer or record pointer or cursor is focusing on the first record. And we said this DB text should focus on the sighting ID, and this DB edit should focus on the sighting date, and this another DB text should focus on the animal. Now watch as I move the cursor to the next record. Now they also get updated in real time because these are data aware controls. They are aware of data in the table. So we move, they will always keep track of these following fields. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So that was our 3.1. Any questions on 3.1? No questions?
Yeah, no questions so far.
All right, then let's move to 3.2. Write code for the buttons to navigate to the first, previous, next, or last ranger ID. Okay, so to do that, this is our free marks. Create an event there, and then we say, what are we moving? The ranger ID. So we want to get the next ranger ID, so we have to move the rangers data set. So rangers, this one is first because the answer is there. So I'm going to take this Okay, let me do all of them. And then this one is prior. So just copy there, paste there, prior. I am expecting everyone to get this one in the summative. If the question is there, of course.
The question is there already.
Yeah, we'll get it. Say if you gonna let us know what data set to use.
On which one?
On this one.
I will let you know which data set to use. What if the question in J is not there?
So you can't emphasize something that is not there. Say I was about to talk about this thing. It seems like you giving us a lot of exercises with the memo. So why can't you give us specific things, like specific exercises that we must do? Because now you're
These
giving us.
tutorials are specific things that are in the summative. It's just that some people wanted extra
So
question papers, and I can't deny them. I have to give them, right?
okay, so what are your recommendations? Like, which one do you recommend that we
I have
must do?
always said, the
The
tutorials
tutorials only,
should be your best friend.
all of them.
Is it especially this one?
No, I can't hear you.
I'm not saying anything. I'm laughing.
Plus, there's information overload. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
isn't
too
it
much,
if
and
you if
it's
you ask
causing anxiety now.
But if you ask for information or you ask for material, should I say no? I'm not giving you because they're not part of the summative. I will give you. Isn't it you're asking? I'll give you.
Yeah, say, but say you at least you must give us like you must set us to do some of the things and avoid us to do some of the things. So if you keep on giving us things that you know they won't be there. Hey, just imagine doing something that is not
But
won't
you
be there.
asked for them. Again, now all along
It's
I
our
was
fault after all.
all along we were doing tutorials, and I kept on saying, practice these tutorials, know them in and out. And then when you come to say, but we need more, I'm going to give you more.
I think those people must text you private so that you can send to them private because now confusing.
This information is too much. The semester is too short.
But you are asking for this information. When I give it to you, it's
Okay.
too much.
Okay, so let's cut it short. Just be specific. We need to do all the tutorials. I don't want to end up doing something of which it's gonna won't be there. So
Look. Every question that I said you should do, somehow there is an element that is there in the summative, and I want you to master that element.
yes. So
From
my
is it
question
from
is
this tutorials?
Tutorial 2, 3, 4.
Yo,
the one that you
in,
already
info,
posted.
information overload.
This is nothing. Guys, this is nothing.
This one is better.
Okay, let's continue.
Yes, please, let's continue. So that
Two,
was
three, four.
3.2. That was 3.2. So now let's quickly debug this. I want you guys to see something. So if you look at this ranger ID now, when we move the ranger's data set to the next record, you will see this data aware control, because it is focusing on the ranger ID, it will pick up the current ranger ID that we are currently on. So I move to the next record, you'll see it keeps updating. I go to the last, it keeps updating. To the first, it keeps updating. Can you see? That is why we call them data our controls. So let us go over
The giraffe is okay. It's fine. It's continuous.
the giraffes.
No, it's not. This continuous.
Okay. So let's go to 3.3, where we are supposed to write code for the checkbox MD for master detail to either create or destroy a master detail relationship between the rangers and the sightings tables. When the checkbox is checked, the relationship should be formed. Otherwise, it should be destroyed. So this was our master detail relationship, which is on this checkbox there.
Okay. Sorry, sir.
Mm-hmm.
To get back on this navigation patterns, because now it's only the ranger that was moving. The giraffe wasn't moving. So are you gonna let us know which ones do you want us to, which information do you want it to navigate there?
Always.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Always.
All right, sir.
All right, so let's go to our checkbox. Let me take this somewhere after navigation, somewhere there. Okay, so this is a checkbox of creating or destroying a master detail relationship. So when it is checked, the relationship should be formed. When it is not checked, the relationship should be broken apart. So now we are dealing with rangers and sightings. Between the two tables, which one is the master? Which one is the detail?
Rangers is the master, and sightings is the detail.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Because the ranger's table is on the one side of the relationship, of the one-to-many relationship.
Perfect. So now we determine that the ranger is master, sighting is detail. So now let us create an if statement, because now we want to check if this thing is checked or not. So if it is checked, we want to form a relationship. Else, we want the relationship to be destroyed. So let's have an if statement that says, hello?
Can you explain the rangers? How did you determine that the rangers are the master? Like, I lost that too.
Okay, let me open the database. So this is our database, and then we go to database tools, we go to the relationship. So the relationship diagram will give us all the information we need about the tables, right? So in this case, we are focusing on these two tables, rangers and sightings. And I think it was Miss Mulekwa, she said, the reason why we are saying the rangers table is the master table is because it is on the side of this one right there, which indicates that only one ranger ID can have many sightings. Okay, so where a table has a 1 next to it, that table will always be our master. And where a table has the many symbol, that table will always be our detail.
Okay, get it.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. So now let's continue. If CKB master detail is checked, I'm just going to use the property checked because this checked property returns a true or false. So I'm just going to say if this checkbox dot checked. So if the value of this CB of this checkbox was checked, meaning it is true, then this whole if statement will evaluate to a true. Therefore, it will be if true. Else, if you do not want to use this notation, you can always come and write it in full like that. If the checked value of this checkbox is true, then do whatever. It will be the same thing. So now, if this thing is checked, we want to create a master detail relationship. And in order for us to do that, we need to know obviously our tables and most importantly our data sources. Okay, so to create a master detail relationship, we need the detailed data source or data set, which is sightings, right? So we are going to say dmod ADODS sightings. Then we are now saying this data set should contain a data source of the parent or the master. This data set should contain a data source of the master, which is ranger, right? So we're going to have dmod ds rangers. Okay, and then to continue, we now have to determine the master field and the index field name within this data set. So we are going to say inside that large data that you currently have, the master field the primary key of the master table, which is our ranger ID. And then the index field name is the foreign key inside our detail table, which is still the ranger ID. Why? Because that is what links the two tables. Ranger ID links with ranger ID. Right? And then with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is our master detail relationship.
So we will be approaching the exam. I feel I think I will become in trouble today. Can you please repeat what you just have done? Because hey, I'm
Okay.
sending someone.
Okay, so a master detail relationship is a relationship whereby the master record controls what is being displayed in the detail table.
Okay, so
All
can
right.
we go? Yes, can we go to the question then come here? Okay, so then you can carry on.
Okay. So a master detail relationship is a relationship whereby a record in the master table controls what is going to be displayed in the detail table. Hello?
So like why did you set the data source of adults sightings with the data source of rangers?
Okay. You will remember when we want to do a master detail relationship, we want the detailed data set to also have information coming from the ranger's data source, because we want to take information from two tables and put it into one place. So that,
Okay, thank
yeah, because at the end of the day, we want to control what is going to be displayed by the child, which is the detail. Again, so we want to say when we select a particular record inside the rangers, then that record or that field should choose what will be displayed by the detail. It's the same as when we do a select statement with two tables, joining two tables. So while that is still loading up, I hope I still have that image that I want to. So here I want to query builder so that I could show you what we want to achieve at the end of the day. So this is our query builder. Let's connect the database quickly. Okay, so now if I say select all from ranges and sightings where ranges dot ranger ID is equals to sightings ranger ID. Let's see if that works. Okay, with duplicates. So let's say distinct, no changes. Okay, let's say select, because we want information from this one. Let's say sighting ID, date, animal, animal, just that, I think. What is the column? Okay, so now with this record, okay, let's also get the ranger ID. Okay, so now at the end of the day, what we want to do is create a join of the two tables. But this join, information that should be displayed, they should be displayed based on what ranger ID is it that we want. Because isn't it the ranger ID inside the rangers is the primary key. So we want to only display according to the ranger ID in the primary key. So this line there, I'm going to replace it with maybe 1 or 2. Let's say 1. Let's see what happens with 2. Nothing happens. Let's do that. Then let's put sightings. Ranger ID. Now, here's what happens. Only information regarding this ranger ID, which is 2, the one that is here, is displayed. So this ranger ID is our master field, meaning it controls information that is going to be displayed. So as we move and change this to 5, you will see only information regarding ranger ID number 5 will be displayed. And that is because we have joined the two tables. We are getting information from both tables. Now, if we come back to this diagram, some of you may remember it. I know I am not a good artist, but it gets the job done. So we were saying relationship of master detail requires two tables. Well, two or more, but in this case, we are going to focus on two tables. So we have table 1, which is of rangers, and we have table 2, which is of sightings. And we have established that table 1, which is rangers, is our master table because there is a 1 written next to that table. Okay, and then this master table has a data set, which is our ADODS rangers data set. Again, even this table of sightings has its own data set, which is ADODS sightings. Now, these data sets also have separate data sources, right? Data source DS rangers, data source DS sightings. Now, to create a master detail relationship, we need to take the data set of the detail table, which is of sightings, right? Once we take the data set, we need to combine it with information coming from another data set. But now we cannot say data set is equals to data set because that will remove the information of this data set with information of the other data set. Rather, what we want to do is to tell the data set to also have a data source of the other table. Hence, we now have a big data set here, of which it is still sightings, but now it contains data from rangers and sightings because we said this data set should get the data source of rangers as well. So what we are doing there is we are taking information of both tables to be inside this data set. So in this large pool of data, we now have columns from all the tables, right? Now we need to distinguish what is the master column inside this big data of ours. So we now say the master column, of which is the master field, should be the primary key of the master table. Okay, and then the index field name is another column which we will use to join the two tables, which of course is a column that has values that are in common with the primary key. And we have distinguished that it is the ranger ID. The ranger ID appears in both the rangers table as well as in the sightings table. That is why now on our code, I'm saying this data set, ADODS sightings, remember it is our detail. Again, it must also get additional data source from the other table, which is the master, DS rangers. And then we are now saying inside this whole large of data, the master field is the primary key coming from the rangers table, which is the ranger ID. And the index field name is the column that is in the detail table that matches with the master field. And again, it is still the ranger ID because the ranger ID is the foreign key inside our sightings table. So as you can see, ranger ID in rangers goes and matches with ranger ID in sightings. So that is why this data set is taking a data source of another table. Are we clear on that one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. So one last question. So
Mhm.
if they ask such question, will we follow the same procedure as this one
Always, yeah.
for the sake of
As,
time?
yeah, as long as you can be able to determine between your two tables which one is master and which one is detail, then you'll always follow the same approach.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So when I check this, now I will first before I check that, I want you to notice that you see when I move my Ranger ID, I am not controlling the output yet. But when I establish that relationship by checking this, you'll see here's what it does. It goes and it selects all the information of sightings where the Ranger ID is the same as that one in the master table 1. So if I move to 2, it only displays information for that Ranger number 2. I go to 3, only information of Ranger 3 is displayed, and so on and so on and so on. Great. So that works. That is our master detail relationship, how it is created. Okay. So to break it, it will be in the else part, because when that thing is unchecked, then we do not want a relationship at all. And to break that relationship, just copy that code which you used to create a relationship and replace the following. On the first line, in terms of the data source, assign null, so that we can get rid of any additional source of data that we want. Get rid of it. And then on the master field, because we do not have two tables now, we now make this blank. And then this will destroy or break a master detail relationship. And then we can compile this. No relationship is formed. Form a relationship. The relationship is there. Break a relationship. The relationship is broken. So that is a master detail relationship question and how it comes. 3.3. Any questions there? No questions. Okay, 3.4. Write code for the on-click event of button young, count young button that will utilize the applicable data set and count the number of all young lions using no SQL. The count should only occur when there is no master detail relationship, and also when the checkbox show dataset is unchecked. Display the output using a message dialog. Okay, so now if I were to ask you, what is this applicable dataset?
Sightings.
Sightings. Let's see, where's that button? Count. Okay, so we are instructed to not use any SQL. So the applicable dataset is ADODS sightings. Ne? Right. The appropriate,
Why sightings, sir?
because that is where we can find the animals. That is where we can find the animals.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are supposed to count the number of all the young lions using NoSQL. Okay, using NoSQL. So sightings. So we have a lion, we have a field called young, which is false. Okay, so using NoSQL, it means we have to iter. Hello?
By the look of things, are we going to use nested if?
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Okay.
A nested if or a compound, a compound if statement, the one that uses the and or the or operators.
I get the first if statement will check if either the box is the checkbox is checked and the data is not filtered, something like that.
Okay, yeah, yes.
And then
Even
the next
for this,
if will check. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that is correct. You can also write it as a compound, because a nested if is actually a compound statement with the and operator. For example, we can say if the master detail checkbox was not checked, so I'll say not there. If it's not checked and even the other one is also not checked, which is the CKB show data set checked, and also this one is not checked. So you can have your nested if as a compound if statement, or you can write the first if and then come again inside, write the second if. Still the same thing. Still the same thing. This, I write it there. If this one is also not checked, then we may want to do the counting. So we are supposed to count all the young lions using NoSQL. So as soon as they say using NoSQL, that loop should come to your head already. That loop that goes from the first record until the end of file, it should come to your head. ADO sightings first, then here we have dmod ADODS sightings, end of file, and then we negate that to a not. Just hide this, scroll that back, and also have dmod ADODS sightings go to the next record. As soon as they say NoSQL, then you should think of dataset methods. These are the methods we are speaking of. Dataset methods. Okay, so while this thing is looping or it's iterating, we want to get the following data, which is the animal, hello.
I just want to check, when are we gonna check if the master detail is on or off?
We are going to check if it's checked when we press this button. So when we press this button, we want to find the value of checked if it's true or false.
Okay, but is that not only checking only for that check only, but it's not taking into consideration the master, or you can just as well as cover it in one condition?
Isn't it when this checkbox is not checked, then it means there is no master detail relationship, because the relationship was only formed when this checkbox was checked.
Okay, sir.
All right. So if we press this button and then we find that that checkbox was already checked, then it means nothing in here will execute. It will just display a message that says we cannot count when this checkbox is checked. Okay. So now, as I was saying, we are going to need the name of the animal. We are also going to need if that animal is young or not. We are also going to need to count all animals. Therefore, this one has to be initialized to 0 because that is where we want to start our counting from. So let's go and retrieve the current animal on the record. So we are going to use the method field by name. So ADODS sightings name. Then we want to take a value from this field called animal, which is this one that represents the name of the animals. And then we say we want to get this as an answer string. We are also going to get whether this animal is young or not by using the isYoung variable, which will retrieve information from a field called young, which is this one there, and it is also going to return either a true or false. I'm going to say give me a value from this field called young and give me that value as a boolean. Give me that value as a boolean because this variable is a boolean. Bathong awusintswaki. Okay, so now that we have our two fields, is young and animal, we can perform an if statement now. So if the animal that we are currently at is a lion, okay, and this animal is young, then we want to do the counting.
Sir, I can do the if statement without declaring the variables animal and isYoung.
Like this?
Yeah, and then katlagare kamaka if sorry for my language. Kamaka if animal then kare d mod idiotic the set field name animal as answer string is equals to lion.
So you take this and you put it here. Yeah, still fine.
And say equals to
lion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still fine. You made me delete the declarations and they are gone. So ancestry, animal, and then bool is here. Alright, no problem, no problem. So now, as soon as you see yourself doing these double quotes, it means you're going to write a literal string. And if we are going to check for a literal string, we need to make sure that we write it exactly as it appears in the database or in the table, because this is a literal string. So we notice that the animal names begin with a capital letter. Né? So if we come and write something like this, we are not going to get the results we want. So we have to make sure that we write it exactly as it appears in the database or the table. And this also goes to question 2 of the vaccinations. If you go and you write J and J in your own style. You go and write J&J like this. Ha. Okay. You'll explain to me probably next semester why you are still in the same subject or module. But it's your mistake. And I'm telling you now, if you do it, you're going to lose marks. And you're going to come to us and you're going to say, but say you understand. What am I understanding there? So please, guys, if you are going to compare using a literal string, make sure it is written exactly as it appears in the table or in the file. Please. You see, I'm even begging you. So this one we want to check.
It's noted.
All right. I have you on record. Whoever responded, I have you on record. If you do that mistake, I will come back to this recording. All right. So if our animal was a lion and this lion was also a young one, we want to count the number of all the young lions. Now, I chose this question on purpose because I knew people will just come and say count all plus. And that's where it is going to trap your hood. Because if you just say count, what it is going to do is it is going to come here, it will check this animal, not a lion, a lion. But is it also young? No, then it will move. So we find another lion there, and then is it young? Yes, and then you will say count one. So it will just say one. Okay? And what we want from this question is to count all the young animals. Now you will notice that for each animal, there is a column called num animals, which means that a lion, there are 8 young lions, right? There are 8 young lions. Now, when we get to another lion, which is 24, we have to take the previous 8 and add to this 24, which gives us 32. So in total, we have 32 young animals, young lions. Let's see if there's another one, and then 2, then we now have 34. 34 plus 19, do your maths there, plus 2 again, you do your maths there, until we get this output, which is 76. So if you just increment by 1 like that, you are not going to get the correct answers. Okay, so what we want here is to count all is equals to the young animals. Num animals as integer. Okay, so because we are going to be taking this value multiple times, we want to accumulate them. So that at the end we have the correct result. All right. So now coming back to our if statement, if this one was checked, we can make a nice output there that says show message unable to count when the data set is filtered or whatever that is. Again, we can have an else for the outer statement, and we could display a message there that says unable to count when a master detail relationship formed or is active, whatever. There. And then finally we can come with our message dialog. Oops. Will be some logical. Okay, I'm going to put it there. Message dialog. I will tell you why I do not want to put it at the bottom. So now I'll say there are int to string count all young lions. That is our first argument of message dialog. The second argument is the type of dialog that we want, which is an informative dialog. So we choose message type information, and then now we want the buttons. We just call the constructor of T message dialog buttons, just like that. And then finally the 0 as always. And then that should do the trick. Any comments, any questions on this one? There are 76 young lions. Any questions?
Can you please explain why did you put this message dialog inside this if statement, not outside?
Okay. Let me say before I explain that to you. Let me quickly show you. So let's make a master detail relationship, and then let's say count. It's going to say unable to count when the master detail relationship is active. All right. So let me go and take this message dialog and put it at the bottom. And then let's run this. And then initially let's count, no problems there. And then let's make a relationship, and then let's count. Unable to count when this what is active, but then again it also goes to show the message dialog. Do you see that? Because remember here we are using an if statement. Here we are using if statements. If this thing is not true, it comes to the else part and it executes whatever that is in the else, and then it further goes and executes whatever that will be at the bottom. Okay? So if we put it at the bottom, if this one is not true, this will execute. If this one is not true, this will always execute. Why? Because it is at the bottom. Do you get?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Hello?
can't you just put return after the show messages so that it just disregards everything else that follows?
Exactly. That is a good way to control it. So we can say after displaying this message, return, meaning go back and or stop executing this event all in all. Stop executing this event all in all. We can also do the same here. Return there, and then we can still have our message dialog at the bottom. So now if we run this, and then obviously this will work. Now let's make a relationship. Let's count. So it's going to say unable to count because this thing is active. And then when we press OK, what is at the bottom will not execute because this return will stop the method from executing anything further. So a very good answer there. Okay, any other questions? Mm-hmm.
explain the donor account all?
I didn't catch that.
Can you explain the donor account all?
The what?
The donor account all. You said the donor account all.
Oh, count all. Okay. Now this count all, what we are trying to do here is when we find a lion which is young, we want to know how many of them are actually young. Okay? So instead of incrementing by 1, we actually want this number of animals. So now what we are doing here is we are saying count all is equals to dmod ADODS sightings filled by name animals to bring up these 2. Okay, so if we were on this record, we would have 2, and then we iterate again, we find a lion somewhere. This one is false, so we find a lion somewhere. This one is true. So when we find this lion again, we want to take this 9 and add it on top of the 2 which we previously obtained. That is why I am using a plus equals to, because I want to keep accumulating these totals as I iterate.
Or they actually wanted some of them.
Yes, they actually wanted some of all the young lions.
Okay.
Yes. Any other question? None. Okay, so what time is it? Should we continue or we'll wrap up tomorrow?
Let's continue.
Continue, sir.
Okay, 3.5. Write code for the on-click event of button increase button that will implement the ADO use query 1 component to increase all the sighting dates of this person by 3 weeks, which is also 21 days. Use exception handling to catch all database and ADO errors. So now, if I were to ask you, will you use SQL or no SQL for this approach?
SQL.
Why?
SQL.
Why SQL?
Because of the ADO use query 1.
Okay. So, okay, never mind. Okay, never mind. So let's go and see how that works out. So we need to update all the sighting dates of Jada by 3 weeks, increase them by 3 weeks. Né? Now, when we look at this table, do we have Jada? Looking at sightings, do we have Jada?
No.
We do not have Jada, but what we do have is the ranger ID of Jada, né? Which is this one. I just know it from my head because I know the database now. So I know that this one actually represents Jada, right? So we could have something like update sightings, set sighting date is equals to sighting date plus 21. Isn't it they said we should increase by 3 weeks? In brackets, they said 21 days. So we could use this approach and then we say where the ranger ID is equals to the ranger ID of Jada. I can't hard code 1 there because they have given me the name Jada, which I need to use somewhere in my SQL statement. So I'm going to say where the ranger ID is the same ranger ID as that of Jada from ranges where name is equals to Jada. So this query will go and give me a ranger ID of this person, and then I use that ranger ID on the condition on the word clause, and then I update the citing date by 21 days. So let's look at the first citing date of Jada, which is 2018. Is this month or year? Okay, 2018 April 19. Okay, so let's execute this query. Look how nice it is. Even there it tells us that this is a DML query. All right, so now as you can see, it now says 2018 510. So do you see that it had updated? Also nicely there it tells us the amount of records updated is 9. So we know our query works, and we can copy our query and we can take it into C++. So we can have an ANSI string or not. I am going to start by clearing my ADO query. ADO query 1 or use query 1 SQL clear, and then I can go ahead and add the SQL statement line by line. So I'm going to have dmod SQL add, and then I can come and add the first line. Then come again at the second line, come again the third, the fourth. I think there should be 6 in total. And then this is my second line. Then this is my third line. Then this is my fourth line. And this is my last line. Then I don't need you. All right, so that is my SQL query. Edit. Then now I check, do I have parameters in this query? No, I don't. I don't have any parameters, so I now need to execute. So remember, we are using an ADO use query component. And I said, when we are using this component and we are executing a select statement, then we open. But if we are executing a DML statement, then we need to exec SQL. Okay, so now we can display the result. But before we go there, exec SQL returns an integer value that represents this number here, this 9 there. So exec SQL will return this 9. Hello?
When you're using a query, there's no need to open and close it.
We are using?
When we're using the ADO query.
You are saying there is no need for us to open it and close it?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, you're asking. I thought you were okay. All right. It depends, eh? It depends, but to make your life simpler, this is what's important with an ADO use query. Make sure you clear the query. The reason why I did not open and close in this case is because, number one, I know that I am dealing with a DML statement. So I know that even if I close, I won't have, or it won't have any effect on this DML statement. But if it was a select statement, then I will suggest that you start by closing it, because you are going to feed it a select statement. But in any case, even if you do this initially, you won't be wrong. You won't be wrong. Actually, I think it is advisable to always start by closing your component. So you won't be wrong if you do that.
Okay, sir.
Right. But now here it's a different story. Here it's a different
sir,
story because, hello?
can I close and clear at the same time?
Yes.
What's the difference between clearing and closing? I thought
Closing,
at the end they all remain empty.
okay. Closing doesn't mean it's going to be empty. It just means that information that is there, it is closed. We won't be able to access it. But clear, this is associated with clearing the SQL that will be currently available inside this ADO use query. So this one, it just locks the component. Okay, but the results are still there. So if we say open, we can still get the result. But now clear, it removes the query, the SQL query written previously. That is the difference.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so now, hello?
So this the way you used the update is the same as maybe starting by initializing a value. Let's say I say ANSI string dot string name is equals to then update, then on the same line, and then add the my SQL string on the ADOA SQL.
Are you referring to this? Let's say we have ANSI string SQL is equals to the entire query, ne?
Yes.
All of the query. And then when you have that, you are only going to use one add, and that add we are going to put this variable inside.
SQL. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it
Yes.
okay also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So now coming
Sir,
to the hello.
I'm sorry, sir. The execute SQL, it works the same way as open.
No.
Okay.
No.
Please notify me there.
Yes, that is what actually I'm trying to emphasize on right now. The opening opens a data set, meaning it gives us a window to a result set, an information or a set of results. That is what open does. It does not actually return, it just opens itself so that we can access the returned information, which is in the form of a data set. That is why the open and the close method, they are strictly for the data set. Okay, in this case, we want the result from a query. We want to know how many rows were updated. We do not care what is the data or whatever. We want the number of rows returned by this DML statement. That is why we exec SQL. But if this was a select statement, we would want to access the records returned by that SQL statement. Therefore, we would need to open the ADO use query in order for us to access those records. But now, all we want to know is how many records were updated by our DML statement. Okay, so we only use open when our query is a select statement. And then only use exec SQL when our query is DML statement, data manipulation language statement, which refers to the insert, delete, date, alter, but you're never going to use it, so let's stick to this three. Ne? So if this was a select statement, we would open. But if this is a DML statement, so that is why we execute SQL. So those two are not the same. I answered my good sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Then if they say using the DML, I should know that I do execute the SQL. Ne?
We won't tell you using the DML. You have to know from this question, what are we doing? We want to increase all the citing dates by 3 weeks. Ne? And then if we want to increase those citing dates, it means we are modifying them. We are updating them. Therefore, that update is a DML statement. Therefore, you have to execute SQL.
Okay, thanks. Sir.
All right. Now, coming back to this exec SQL, this method returns an integer value that represents the amount of records updated. So you can come and say int updated records equals to our line of execution. And then now we can come and show message. Then we say int to string updated records plus records updated. Then let us try that one out. Then it says 9 records updated. 9 records updated. But now you can see we are not able to see the new changes. So we have to refresh. Dmod ADODS sightings. Refresh. So that we can see the updated records. All right. Any questions on this one?
Does execute property and the exec SQL work the same?
Execute property. Let's see. Is it? I have execute action, execute options, PS execute. I think execute, you are referring to the execute method of the ADO command.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Execute is a method of ADO command. So it will work the same as exec SQL.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you were instructed to use an ADO command there, then you will say execute. Yeah? Execute, something like this. you execute. Yeah, you'll do something like this if this was an ADO command. Okay, so now it's just a use query. So we say exec SQL.
So you're not done.
I'm not done.
Yeah, they say use exception handling to catch database or to catch all database and errors.
Oh yeah. Okay, so now that you have all your code there, so just go copy this code, cut it, and then just start by saying try, paste all your code inside try, and then you come to catch, and then you can catch. They said what? Database errors, ne? Database errors or error. Error database, and then we can also catch EADO error. This is allowed. EA. Okay, seems like we can only catch one at a time. So we are going to catch database errors first, and then we display show message, and then display the error coming from ED, and that error is in the form of a message. And then we can also come and catch another type of error, which is EADO error, and then we display show message EA, give us the message that caused the error. Then that should be our exception handling. Any questions?
Sir, is the refresh, ne? Is it the same as closing and opening your data set?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Any other question?
Sir, in the catch statement, if I just instead of the base error and the pointer, if I could just put the 3 dots, would I be wrong?
I will mark you right.
And then at the show message, I just type whatever I want to, just to show the error was cached. Sir, I mean, like at least an error was cached or something.
Yeah, it will still work. But as soon as you use the 3 full stops, then you won't have another catch, okay? Because this is meant to catch all the errors. So we will not write any other catch statement there. Any other question?
I'm set.
Hello?
So basically, these 3 dots I get from the question paper, I think they said we must catch 2 types of errors, right? Which is the database and the ADO, if I'm not mistaken, right? So if she says, or if she uses the 3 dots, will you mark her wrong? So Chore, what you're saying is these 3 dots basically DMS those 2 errors, the database error and also ADO.
Yeah, and any other errors that or exceptions that may arise. This covers any error that is going to be caused by one of these lines of code.
Okay, understand. Because I'm getting surprised or you want to mark here wrong, since the question paper it specified or we must use the database error and also the ADO error. But then I understand now.
Yeah, no. That's why when I answered it, I was a bit skeptical. I was unsure of whether to say no or yes. So maybe actually this should be marked wrong. But if you see that your marks are not adding up, then maybe we could just come and put one there. Who knows? That one may help someone. But I think, yeah, no. I have to mark it wrong. Sorry, but I have to mark it wrong. Because we said we want to catch all database and ADO errors. And then if you write this, when you are catching any possible errors, any, and we do not want any. We want to only catch the database error and the EADO error. So yeah, I may have to mark it wrong. I'm sorry. I may have to mark it. But actually, yes, I'm going to mark it wrong because the answer is actually somewhere at the top. You see, there's one answer there at the top. So yes, I'm going to mark you wrong just for the fact that you could not even come and copy the answer from here. So yes, I'm going to mark it wrong. Sorry, but I have to.
Sudden change of heart, sir.
Yeah, a wise man, eh? A wise man always changes his mind. So let's go to 3.6. Oh, sorry, have I answered everything in 3.5? Actually, okay, but you'll do it as your homework. Yeah. As your homework, please redo 3.5, but don't use a query using no SQL. Please do 3.5 using no SQL. I want to see something. Using no SQL. Yeah, no SQL. Meaning you're going to use the sightings. You're going to use the sightings data set. Using no SQL. Please increase the weeks by 3 or 21 days using no SQL. I want to check something.
Sir, sorry, like, can you quickly go back to the SQL statement? Just for, why are we having like two tables there? The ranger from rangers and then the other one from sightings, or maybe I'm not reading well.
Okay, now you'll remember the question said they want us to increase all the sighting dates of this person by 3 weeks, right? And when we look at the table of sightings, we do not have those ranger names. We do not have the ranger names, but rather we do have the ranger ID. And we want to increase all the dates of this ranger called Jada. I know Jada is ranger number 1, but I am not allowed to hard code 1 there. So what I'm going to do is I make a subquery to say update this sighting date where the ranger ID is the same ranger ID of a person called Jada using a subquery. So if I run, let me run this separately so that you could see what the output is. So you see, when I say give me a ranger ID where the name is Jada, it gives me this one. And then with that one, I'm now saying update all the ranger IDs where that ranger ID is 1, which is being returned by this. So it's going to go and check the ranger ID inside sightings, and then it looks for 1. Oh, this is 1, and then it updates there by 21 days or 3 weeks, and then it goes again to look for 1, Wherever it finds one, it updates. So that is how we were able to have main ranger IDs and a subquery there.
All right.
Are you answered?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
I have a question, but then it's not related to database.
Okay.
It's related to loading a file and chopping it.
All right.
So the first thing here is that I should load the file to the list box, right?
Yes. Rich edit.
Not a list box.
Okay, I'm not sure if you are referring to question 2 or question 1 of loading a file.
Let me see. It's which one am I doing? 2 seconds. It's final summative, the sit test.
Question 2.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a rich edit.
Okay, so I should load it to the rich edit. Okay, it was successfully loaded. And then what happened? And then I wanted to know, like, how do you retrieve each line? Each line of because I need to, when it's loaded, it comes in rows. Hello?
Okay, let's do this. The question somewhere will tell you to use this T-string list object. Did you use it anywhere? Because we are
yes.
Yeah, you used it to load a file.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because we are not allowed to use the rich edit to load a file directly.
Okay.
So we need to use this list raw whatever. I think in your case is list raw data list. We have to say list raw data list, load from file, and then you specify the path of that file.
Okay, wait. So the file will be loaded on the T string.
Yes. And then from the T string, when you want a particular line, we say list raw data list, arrow, strings, and then the strings is like an array. So you do square bracket, and then you add an integer value representing an index. So you will be inside a loop, ne? So you will put I in there.
Yes. And then from there, okay.
And then from there, that's where you do
everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I use the same method for chopping database? No, I can't. No, I can't.
No, you can't.
I have to use the while loop end of file.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. So 3.6, write code for the on-click event BTN filter animals button that will implement the ADODS temp dataset to display all citing information cited in February and July using SQL. Ensure that the results are displayed in the database grid. Okay, so let's go and get information that is cited only in February and July. So let's have a select all sightings where Where? How do we get them the months?
So don't you type month and then date?
Okay, we could use month, and then we give it citing date, ne? Because we want the citing date. Where month of citing dates is equals to what? What does month return? Okay,
Integer.
yeah, like in the form of 2 digits or what? Let's say select month citing date from citings. So in one digit, there's no leading zero. Can you see? If it's February, is 2, not 02. Ne? So pay attention to that. So we have select all sightings where month of sighting date is equals to 2. Great. So we only have February there. And then they said they want February and July. Ne? So let's say end month equals to 7. Will this work?
Yes,
Will this work?
Yes, it should work.
What will fail? Why is it not working?
Because we used an and.
And what does
it can
an
only
end do?
both conditions have to be true.
Yeah, so with the end, both conditions need to be true, meaning the month has to be 2 and it has to be 7 at the same time, which is highly impossible. Ne? So we have to use the OR operator. Then we're going to get dates which are either February or July. You get?
Yes. Sorry, sir. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say the sighting date is not in numbers, but like it's physically written like 12 April 2018. How would we then do the query?
Is it written like?
Like it's written, you know how here the dates are written in numbers.
Yeah.
But what if it's physically like it's 12 April, not 12/04/2018, but 12 April 2018.
You mean it's written like 12 February, something like this.
Yes, exactly like that.
Okay. Then we
Yes,
put
what
a
I'm asking is,
hash.
what if the site date is written like that? How would we do this query?
You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. As long as
Okay.
you are giving this to month, then because this is a date format, it knows that whenever it sees a hash next to the date, then it takes the whole thing as a date. So this should also work in terms of returning the correct answer. So can you see it still gives us 2 because it knows the format of day, full, month name, and 2021. So whatever format your date can be, as long as you say month next to it, it will give you the integer value of that month in that date.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
All right.
So sir, if after the where clause I say instead of saying 2, then I type vele February, is it still going to work?
Okay, let's do this. So you are saying here, do you change anything there?
No, I changed, like I replaced the 2 with February. I put it in quotes, inside quotations or something.
This will not work.
Oh,
Why? Because month returns an integer value
oh,
of whatever the date. So we cannot say where 2 is equals to February.
okay. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Sir,
Hello?
will I be wrong if I approach it using the format function? And I
No,
format.
sir, you'll still be right.
All right, thank you.
Let's actually look at the format. The format is actually a function of strings. Ne? So we are going to say format this to be what? MM.
Yeah.
And then we have citing date. This now we have to say 02 because it is actually formatting this citing date to give us the MM on the citing date, and the MM on our tables are actually 2 digits. Can you see? If I just write 2, it will not know it. So I have to say 02. Oops. What's wrong?
Sir, I think you need to start with the citing date and followed by the MM, and that 2 should not be inside I think it's a quotation, single quotations. It just have to be just a number.
02 or just 2?
02.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we have this, okay, still works. All right, no, it's fine. Okay, so you can also use the format there to say on this date, please give me the months, and then check if the months are 2 or 3 or whatever the question wants. So you have options on here. You have options. So I'm going to, on the word clause, I'm going to use this, and then on the or, I'm going to bring back the one month. Months or months, I forgot. Is it month or months? Citing date.
Mr. Langa, can I add something on?
Yes, please.
So when you're doing a query like this and you're sitting in the exam, I mean, I would suggest that you do an incremental approach. You can select star from citings just to make sure that you're getting connected to the right table, have a look, examine the data. Then you can add on one where clause, and then you can add on the other where clause, and make sure that you look at the data to see whether it actually makes sense or not. You don't have to build in the entire query at once, and then when you get an error, you don't know where to start. So you can use an incremental approach. And then on the other question regarding using the month as in the full name, there are situations where that does happen, but you may have seen it in one of the previous lectures when it was within the RAD studio and it was looking at the date format. But in terms of here, it's not going to work. But if you're sitting in the exam, try something. Try it and see if it works. No, it doesn't work. Try 02, try 2, but don't have a massive and complex query in the beginning. Rather have something simple and then you can build on that. Okay, that's all for now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Monsemi.
Sir,
It's
just a quick question on the month. Ishmara, like, is not related to this table of sightings. I forgot the table, but then how do I get the birthday month of a person using an ID number? Let's say an ID number is provided in table of I forgot. Yeah, it's there.
the birthday
You can
month.
use substring.
Hmm?
I think you can
So
use substring.
so we can say substring, which is mid in here, mid as a ID number, and we want the month, and the month is character number 3 and 4. So we're going to say on character 3, get us 2, and then this should be the month. From clients. So substring will be your best shot for this one. So as you can see, that is what we have. So maybe we could also format this to display the month in full. I can't remember what is the so it's going to be format. Format, okay. And then I can't remember the format, if it's I can't remember. Oh wow, look at that. But why are they only January and December only? And then if we have 4 M's, we get full. But all these people, they're January, December. Okay. But yeah, your best shot is the mid function, where you subtract your ID number from character number 3 and you take only 2 characters, because that is where the month is on the ID number.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. So let's quickly proceed. ADODS temp. Now with this one, we have to close. ADODS temp, we have to start by closing it. Then we have to also give it a new command text, ds temp command text. We need to equate it to something. So I'm going to create an ANSI string. I'll call it query is equals to our query there. So we say select all from sightings, where format equals to 2, or our month equals to 7. So we now come and say,
So
hello.
I want to ask about the filtering and unfiltered data. What exactly do they mean by that?
Okay, when we say unfiltered data, we mean the original data that was displayed beginning of the application, right? Now after we are done with this question, isn't it here we are filtering? Like for example, paste that again here. You see these results that are displayed there, these are not the original results that were displayed initially when we started the application. So these results are filtered, because they are not all the results are displayed there. Not all of them are being displayed. So these are filtered results which meet a certain condition, which is February and July. Now if we wanted the unfiltered results, our unfiltered results will be all this information which is not filtered. Everything is displayed.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, now on the command text we have query, and then now we need to check, do we have parameters in our query? No, we don't. So we can go ahead and execute or open our ADODS temp. Okay, then we were also told to display the results in the grid. So to get the results in the grid, we need the data source first. So we're going to say dmod ds temp, which is the data source. We now say it must get the data set from ADODS temp. And finally, we can say DB grid of sightings get the data source from DS10. And then voila, that should display our results in the grid. So as you can see, now the results are filtered. So when we press this show unfiltered, it should revert back to displaying the original information that was displayed before the current one. And that information was coming from sightings data source. So any questions on this one?
Sir, how many marks maybe that question?
Okay, 2 marks for the query. The query itself, 1 mark there, 1 mark to open, 1 mark there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 marks estimation.
Okay, and then I can get 4 if let's say I mess up on the select statement, and then the rest is fine.
You can get 3. I get this one. This one is 2 marks. Hey, why are you gauging the marks? You already know you're going to mess up on your queries.
Yes, say the query is the problem.
Yeah, the query is the problem. The rest is always the same, but the query is the one that it's got issues.
Especially for us, as students. Yes, sir.
Oh, I students that have never done anything related to databases.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
We don't know query, SQL.
Hey,
we only know robots.
So maybe when we are done with the semester, some of you can present what you are doing in the, especially the robotic stuff. I am interested in that. Maybe some of you could come and present. Unless if you are also crying about it, then robots. So you guys who are doing IIS and you are saying you are doing robots, by nature, are you are you controlling people? Are you people who like to control by nature?
No, sir, we're not. We're just making things more efficient.
By telling the robot what to do.
Yeah, so that you can just sit and watch the robot do everything for you.
Oh, so you okay? Lazy people who want the robot to do everything for them. Okay. So why don't you build a robot that is going to imitate your brain, and then when you are writing TPG, you can let the robot do the thinking for you.
And you'll say it's plagiarism. Jiggy, jiggy. Now we are in the department, guys.
I know, I hear you. Hey, yeah, interesting stuff. And those who are doing software development, why don't you build an application that, I don't know, you train the application with these types of questions, and let it have some keywords from the question so that it can generate answers for you. Hey, yeah, people, you don't want to pass you.
Girls are not already paid.
Eh?
Ke re ka bosigo go pela re bontsha o le di-picture. So question 1, tutorial 4.
Oh, okay. No problem. No problem. Okay, so let's quickly wrap up. Write code on click event for this checkbox to display all the settings data when unchecked. And only the filtered results when checked. This was supposed to be vice versa. Display the settings data when unchecked. When unchecked. Okay. And then the previous one, let me see. Did they say the results are displayed? Okay. So in this case, when we display the result, we should also make sure that we check the checkbox, because only the filtered results need to be displayed when this thing is checked, if I'm correct. Only filtered results when they are checked. So right now we are displaying filtered results. Therefore, we check the checkbox via code. Via code. So if we quickly debug that. So as soon as we filter, this thing becomes checked. So when I uncheck it, it should bring back the original data. So I lost that event. So I have to generate it again. On click. Okay, so I have to check if this checkbox is checked. You can also take it further to say equals to true. Then what do you need there? You need the filtered results. So I'm just going to copy this line of code, bring it in there. We want to display the original sightings data, which was displayed somewhere there. Copy that, bring it in there. And that should do the trick. Let's see if this works. It never works out with copy and paste. So filter, uncheck, original is displayed. Check, the filtered results are displayed. Awesome. Awesome. So if you want to avoid these things of copying and pasting, you have to remember that this event was filtering data. So you can come and call this event. You can come and call button filter animals click. You call it there, and then it says, or this thing was receiving a sender. And then you can also come and give it a sender which you have from this event. So you can come and pass the sender there, comment that one, and then in here this was done in tabs question 3 show, right? So you can come and call this event to repeat its work. So we come and paste it there. It will also want the sender. We give it the sender that is currently there locally. We give it that sender, and then we can comment this code, and then it should work as expected. Let's see if I'm not lying. Yes. Great. Any questions?
Sir.
Hello.
So if you call an event like that, and that event was not correct, will I get the correct? Will I get marks there?
What do you mean by the event was not correct? You mean the code in here was not right?
Yeah, I was not right, but then I called the event.
Hey, today you are hitting me with tricky questions, eh?
That's how we lose marks. I want to know.
Oh. Hey, I'm neutral on this one, because if you are calling if you are calling an incorrect event, why should I give you a mark? Like, for example, let's say you did not write anything in there. Let's say it's like that and you are coding it. No.
But the
coding is right.
coding is right, but the question was saying on that event you must show the filtered event, what, then they just call it. But you didn't filter that top.
But then you are robbing me. So you are, come on. The call is right, ne? The call is right, but what is inside this event is what that matters.
Even half Magniana, sir.
I know I'll think about you if we come across that situation. But for now, I know I'm not going to give a mark. Any
No
other
problem, sir. I
question?
understand.
Any other question? Tricky question that is. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to wrap up question 1 and question 2. And then I believe we should all be ready for
And question 5 from tutorial 3B.
question 5. And Maleko, even yesterday you spoke about that question 5. What? Oh, the one of a report, ne? Oh yeah, no. We will cover it tomorrow as well. Three B, 3A, 3B. Which tutorial was it? 3B. Should be 3B. Yes, safe.
Sir, when can we get this recording?
How soon do you want it?
Today.
Even 11:59 is still today, ne?
So as soon as possible, yabo. Even if it's 7 o'clock.
Okay. I'll make sure I upload it before I sleep. Okay, there's the question that
What
Miss
time do you
Malik
sleep?
was. Me, I sleep early. Me. 7. I'm out. 7. I'm out. I'm joking. Usually around. Actually, I don't have a schedule.
Please, as soon as possible, because tomorrow is the last day. We don't want a lot of work. We want to revise.
Hey, people are ready. People want to prepare. Why was this not the same energy we got for when we were writing the formative?
This is database. This is not changing font. Database.
Anyway, this was question 5 of tutorial 3B. I think this is the one Ms. Mulekwa is looking for. Selecting from 2 tables, and then we open the data set, and then we build a report by concatenating. Report camp, put a space, camp description, put a space, camp rangers, which represent the number of rangers per camp. Ne? Then at the end of that line, we go to the next line. And then it keeps on building, and then we display the report using show message, and we also save the report to an external file. But we'll go through this tomorrow. So for today,
Image. We'll also do the one at image tomorrow. Or
tomorrow, yeah. Tomorrow we'll do everything that's left, especially the image part, because it's important as well.
Even
If you
the
can't wait,
buttons.
if you can't wait for tomorrow, the one for loading an image, I think we did in Ketchup, one of the Ketchup where we were doing
Ketchup
the
13.
number 13, where we were doing the 13 or 14, somewhere there, where we were doing the number plate, what, can't remember. But just go and check Ketchup 13 and 14, you may find how to load an image if you are impatient. Someone is calling.
Yeah, even earlier buttons.
Yeah, but which one is the one here button?
Grab this must automatically close or something like that.
Oh, TB button. Oh, okay. Yeah. Dynamic instantiation, ne?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah. It's there in tutorial 4.
Yes.
Yeah, also okay. So we will cover it as well tomorrow when we are doing
Tutorial, man.
I think it's 4. Even tutorial 2. Hey, yeah, somewhere even
What
in
are
tutorial
the
2.
6th session again? But the Ketchup.
She's going to be in the sink, this one. Somewhere back. But it's fine. We'll do it tomorrow as well.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. This is going to be a long recording, guys. So please, I am sorry. This thing is freezed. I cannot quickly stop it. But if you are determined, you won't mind the 2 hours. I guess.
For T images, Ketchup 14.
13 or 14, I can't remember, but we did, and in that Ketchup we were just doing a simple application here, number plate.
Yeah, it's 14. I'm watching it.
It's 14, ne? All right. Yeah. So for those who want the image part, tutorial 4, Ketchup 14, I have to. Is this one? Yeah, it's this one. Ketchup 14. Yeah, this is the line that loads a picture. Yeah, Ketchup 14, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. I didn't catch who that was, but thank you.
Mr. Matlo.
Mr. Matlo. Yeah, you'll get your 2 marks. I get your free 2 marks. Ooh, I can't stop the recording. Teams is doing its own thing. Teams is doing its own thing. Oh.
Can we stop it for you?
Yeah, you can stop it for me. Yes, please.
We can't. It's grayed out.